This is BBC Newsline. I'm Tara Mills. Tonight's headlines. A woman admits publishing a social media post likely to identify one of Jeffrey Donaldson's sex abuse victims. The former chief executive of Mid and East Antrim Council, Ann Donaghy, seen here with the red hair, goes on trial charged with illegally deleting an email to stop a Freedom of Information request. A warning from surgeons not to let politics get in the way of making the right health decisions after the row over moving emergency surgery from the Causeway Hospital.
Without reform, without a planned reconfiguration of services, there's a real danger of an unplanned service collapse.
Campaigners fear a planned new national football centre near Ballymena will disturb the countryside.
We'll hear from golfer Rory McIlroy ahead of the PGA Tour's finale this week. And I'll bring you the rest of the weekend sport.
And it has been a fabulous day of late summer sunshine, but is the fine weather going to continue as we head into the last week of the season? I'll have all the details at the end of the programme.
Hello and welcome to Monday's programme. A 55-year-old woman has pleaded guilty to breaching a lifetime victim anonymity order in the Jeffrey Donaldson sex abuse trial. Donna Toman from Ballynahinch appeared at Downpatrick Magistrates Court. During the Donaldson case, the police and the Attorney-General issued a number of warnings about potential offences from social media posts. Here's our South East reporter, Cormac Campbell.
This is 55-year-old Donna Toman of Lord Moira Park in Ballynahinch. Today she appeared at Downpatrick Magistrates Court where she pleaded guilty to breaching an anonymity order on social media. This related to a post which prosecutors say could identify one of the complainants in the recent Jeffrey Donaldson sex abuse case. In June, the former DUP leader was found guilty of 18 counts of sex abuse, including 1 count of rape, which he committed against 2 women when they were children. As is standard across all such cases, the victims have lifelong anonymity, unless they choose to waive it. In April, the Attorney-General, Dame Brenda King, warned of potential offences arising from social media posts that could jeopardise this right. And in July, the PSNI confirmed that they had charged a woman in relation to a potential breach. That woman is Donna Toman, who has now entered a guilty plea. District Judge McGill told the court that he expected a pre-sentence report by the 12th of October. He said this is a serious offence. The court heard it can come with a sentence of 6 months. Cormac Campbell, BBC Newsline, Downpatrick.
A court has been told that the former chief executive of Mid and East Antrim Council had an incentive to illegally delete emails because of the perception that she was too close to DUP politicians. Ann Donaghy was head of the council back in 2021 when it withdrew staff from Brexit inspection duties at Larne Port over security concerns. Ms Donaghy is facing charges of deleting or attempting to delete an email in contravention of the Freedom of Information Act. Our North East reporter Luke Sproul was in court.
It's a case that began with Brexit. Back in January 2021, the Northern Ireland Protocol had just come into force. That meant border control posts being built at Larne, something unionist politicians were opposed to. It was during this time that Ann Donaghy wrote to the Cabinet Office in London, saying she had been advised to do so by DUP MPs Ian Paisley, Sammy Wilson and Jeffrey Donaldson. She said she was worried about the implementation of the protocol and that graffiti had appeared threatening staff working at the border control posts. In subsequent days, she forwarded this email to DUP figures including Gordon Lyons, Edwin Poots and Arlene Foster.
Journalist Brendan Hughes, who now works for the BBC, sent a Freedom of Information request to the council asking for correspondence about the alleged threats. Ms Donaghy was then questioned about the issue at a Stormont committee. The prosecution's case is that there was mounting political and media interest in the situation and that there was a perception that she was the DUP's person.
An email containing a copy of the Cabinet Office letter which was sent to Arlene Foster was later deleted, with the court hearing a recording of Ms Donaghy asking her PA to do so. In a second recording, her co-defendant Aaron McClelland could be heard speaking to another of Donaghy's PAs and asking her to delete an email which had been sent to a DUP councillor. which she refused to do.
In her police interview, Ms Donaghy admitted asking her PA to delete the email to Arlene Foster. She said she had been concerned about leaks from council and that she was worried that Baroness Foster's private email address would end up being revealed. She said she knew there were hard copies of the email and had only asked for the digital version to be deleted.
In Mr McClellan's police interview, he said he thought it was legitimate to delete the emails because they needed to prevent leaks before the FOI process was complete and that there were hard copies. The trial continues tomorrow. Luke Sproul, BBC Newsline at Ballymena Magistrates Court.
And we have a new podcast series from The State of Us covering this case in more detail. Trial of a CEO is available now on BBC Sounds or wherever you get your podcasts. Now, surgeons are warning that unless services across our hospitals are modernised, patient safety is at risk. They say current ways of working are no longer sustainable. It's the first time surgeons across the UK and Ireland have sent a joint letter to the Health Minister. In a reference to last week's resignation by Mike Nesbitt, they said they had to intervene when it appeared politics, not patient safety, was influencing discussions. Our health correspondent, Mary-Louise Connolly, is here now. What have the surgeons been saying, Mary-Louise?
Tara, we've heard from a number of different surgeons today, and there is a common theme. Too few staff are being stretched across too many hospital sites, and that's not safe for patients, nor is it an efficient practice of medicine. And there is a warning that overall it's not good for patient safety. And of course, Tara, we are talking about emergency general surgery. And I think there's an issue when people hear the word emergency, they think it's the removal of their emergency department, but it's not. It's dealing with a certain type of surgery. For instance, a burst appendix, a perforated bowel, which can be an emergency. But according to the Northern Health Trust, they don't have enough dedicated surgeons to treat this type of surgery, and that's why they're suggesting it should be consolidated onto one site. So surgeons, in a first-time move across the UK and Ireland, have published a joint statement about what unfolded in Causeway last week. And it says that the choice before Northern Ireland is not between change and no change. It goes on to say that the choice is between a planned and clinically led reconfiguration, which people can plan for, and staff. And finally, that there is a risk of unplanned service failure that could jeopardise patient care.
And this is a long-running saga. This has been going on for decades.
Tara, it has been going on for decades. In fact, we have had 4 significant reviews in the past 15, almost 20 years. The most recent one, the Bengoa Health Review in 2016. Before then, we had the Donaldson Review. Before that, we had the Compton Transforming Your Care Report. And actually, this goes back to 2001, I should say, with the Morris Hayes Review. And really, the things are all the same. Too many hospitals, too many services spread across hospital sites. And what has happened is a massive vacuum has created because no health minister has taken a decision to implement any of the changes that have been mentioned in these reports.
So that's the kind of medical point of view. What about local people? What have they been saying?
Well, local people say they feel vulnerable, that their interests, that their health issues aren't being addressed. They also feel very passionate about that the data that is being collated from the public consultation and from various reviews isn't being shared with them.
A lot of the facts have been misrepresented and inaccurate. For example, it said that this is for patient safety and clinical outcomes. Well, there's actually no evidence that that is so. I think the true facts have to come out. I think the consequences of this change have to be spelt out both for Antrim and for Causeway on departments other than surgery, because it will certainly have a knock-on effect on the general provision of healthcare.
And we've heard from another surgeon today.
That's right. In 2024, the former health minister, oh my goodness, can you believe? Mike Nesbitt, how quickly people go from my mind. Mike Nesbitt asked for a review of emergency general surgery at the Northern Health Trust. That review was carried out by the GIRFT team, getting it right first time. We've heard from the man who led that review, and he says, if you don't have planned reform and change, it can only trigger collapse.
I understand that everyone feels great affection for the hospital, their nearest hospital, But I genuinely believe that these proposals will improve the care of both emergency and planned patients. We went through a similar process in my hospital here about 14 years ago, where we consolidated onto one site for emergency general surgery. It was very difficult in terms of party politics to get that through. But we've now got a thriving unit where we've got 16 specialist GI surgeons who provide emergency general surgery to the whole county. It means we can recruit and retain people.
Now, the future of what happens in Causeway is just one of the issues the new health minister will have to deal with. But you've been looking at another issue today.
Yes, of course, the new minister, Robbie Butler, has a bulging in tray. And one of the other issues that he will be dealing with, as well as Causeway, is how the health service supports people who are living with chronic pain. Really about getting those people off very strong medication. It's a 3-week rehabilitation programme run by the Belfast Health Trust. And while the data about patients is shocking, the results for those people who have attended the programme are actually quite astounding, very positive.
Years, Julianne relied on pills to cope with chronic pain. That's pain that lasts longer than 3 months and means the nervous system is stuck in emergency mode.
Before the programme, I do believe that the pain was controlling me and that it was stopping a lot of the things that I wanted to do, or actually just taking pleasure in the basic things in life.
So how does this programme, based at Belfast's Knockbracken Health Park, help patients manage their discomfort?
Not relying on meds as well, so not taking medication for your chronic pain. So that's after the rehab programme.
As well as talking therapies, there's physiotherapy and exercise, a massive effort to reduce reliance on tablets.
Some of the very strong medicine really made me feel very bad and, maybe gave me feelings of not being able to cope, or, even feeling that I was starting with dementia,
Data from this programme is part of a wider study which found that people living in the most deprived areas are at higher risk of chronic pain and 3 times more likely to face pain-related depression.
We were genuinely shocked. We did not expect it to be as bad as it was. Like upwards of 300% greater risk of experiencing extremely high levels of depression and extremely high levels of anxiety. And from a statistical perspective, from a scientific perspective, that pattern of findings is hugely unique, hugely unexpected, hugely significant.
There are some familiar faces. For this politician, half the battle is getting a diagnosis.
When I first came into this room, the specialist that came in and spoke to me said, "We're not going to wave a wand here and take your pain away. We're going to help you to understand what pain is and how you're going to cope with it and how to live with it." And for me, that was a big factor. And for the first time after the 3 weeks here in Knockbracken, someone said to me, "You suffer from chronic pain." Before, it was wear and tear.
The challenge now is to roll the programme out across all health trusts.
If we can break down some of the understandings of that, if we can help our patients to understand that pain no longer represents threat, and so get them back to moving, get them back to living a life, then in some regards we're doing a good job.
Now, the Secretary of State, Sir Chris Bryant, has insisted it's full steam ahead for his government when it comes to passing Trouble's legacy legislation through Parliament. He was speaking earlier today as he arrived in Dublin for the first time since taking on the role. Our political editor, Enda McClafferty, is here. Did we learn anything new from what he had to say today?
Well, in a word, Tara, no, because this visit was very much about cementing the reset in relations between London and Dublin, a process, of course, started by his predecessor, Hilary Brand. The 2 big challenges facing the Secretary of State right now: breaking the financial deadlock at Stormont. We haven't had a budget now, and we're 5 months into the financial year, something Chris Bryant today described as shocking. He said he's bored as well with the sticking plaster approach to Stormont's finances, but no clue as to whether or not the government is going to come up with the money to allow our politicians to set a budget. And the other big issue, you mentioned it, legacy, of course. The government currently bringing through its legacy legislation and is under pressure from its backbenchers to introduce greater protections for veterans. Now, Chris Bryant was asked about that today, and this was his response.
It's full steam ahead with the Troubles Bill. Look, there's some things we've got to amend to make sure we've got it absolutely right before it goes through to the House of Lords. We'll be tabling some amendments in the next few days. We've also got to make sure that we in the UK government, and of course here in Dublin, in the Dublin government, everybody does everything that we need to be able to get the answers for families. Because in the end, this is about many families who've lived for 30 years with pain and anguish and often a deep, deep sense of resentment. They need answers.
Now, we're expecting to see the government's amendments sometime early next month. And just one final thought, Tara, Chris Bryan's boss, of course, the Prime Minister, Andy Burnham, we were told was going to be in Northern Ireland before the end of this month. We're now in the final week, so it's a case of watch this space.
OK, Enda, thank you. Now, campaigners trying to stop a national football training centre being built near Ballymena say it will ruin a relatively tranquil part of the countryside. The Irish Football Association has applied for planning permission to create the centre on a 50-acre site between Galgorm and Cullybackey. Our community correspondent Mark Simpson reports.
6 new pitches in the County Antrim countryside. Good for football, but bad for a horse riding school nearby, according to Lady Juliet Fraser. She's worried about the impact of sudden shouts and cheers.
Horses are fight or flight animals. If you make a loud noise in the vicinity of the horse, its first instinct is to run away. If you've got a beginner rider or a disabled rider trying to ride it, the outcome is not going to be good, as I'm sure you can understand.
Also against putting the new National Football Centre here is Sarah Herbison, who has a house nearby.
The actual scale and size of this development is humongous. 6 pitches, 3 floodlight pitches. That's not to mention the adverse effects it's going to have on heritage, on ecology.
Is this a classic case of not my backyard?
People can view it like that, but the more information you find out about the effects of the development, it's just completely wrong for this area.
But many believe it's right, including the father of this Northern Ireland footballer who's from Ballymena.
It's Hume!
Johnny Hume believes the proposed site is a winner.
It's beside the Galgorm Hotel. There's 2 train stations very close to it as well. I just think it suits everybody. You don't get the heavy traffic you would get up around Belfast or some of the smaller towns either.
The local MP is also in favour.
I think it is good for Ballymena. I think it's good for Northern Ireland, and I think it's good for Northern Ireland football.
The Irish Football Association is aware that there is some opposition to its plans. It says it will continue to listen and engage on the concerns. Just like sporting fixtures, the outcome of planning applications can be difficult to predict. Mid and East Antrim Council is still making up its mind. Mark Simpson, BBC Newsline, near Ballymena.
Now, they've been described as the hottest ticket in Ireland after an impromptu performance in a Derry pub in February. Kingfisher are back this time to play to a sell-out gig in Ebrington Square this evening. Their status is rising across the world, and the band say they're delighted with their success. Here's our Northwest reporter, Kieran Turish.
Kingfisher are a Limerick based indie folk group. Eddie Keogh, Owen McGrath and Owen Fitzgibbon, who've emerged as one of the top Irish bands in recent years, and their popularity is growing. They topped the Irish charts on 3 separate occasions last year with their hit track Killa. They were on a quiet break in Derry in February, but that didn't last long. Fans recognised them and asked them to perform their popular track.
Matt, I actually love Derry. We came down here for a music video a couple of months ago, and the response was crazy. Like, there was people, I was forced, we were talking before we came on about me being forced to get up on a chair and sing a song with the 2 boys. But I love Derry. I think it's one of my favourite towns in Ireland.
The band have been on tour in Australia and in the UK, but they simply love coming home and performing for a never-increasing fan base on the island.
I hate the idea of this whole ivory tower stuff about, like, people thinking that just because they write tunes, it's like, oh, they're so cool or so. You end up, I don't know, that's stupid in my opinion. So yeah, we're very happy. Sure, that's how we started. We started in college singing at house parties. I'm scraping to the bottom of the barrel in my 20s now, so I'm still hanging in there. So we don't know, in my 30s I might end up, being a bit more subdued. But I might sit at the table instead of standing there. But yeah, sure, look, it's great crack.
There's been a major drive to promote Ebrington as a major music venue. More acts like James Arthur and JLS are due here next weekend. The promoter says Kingfisher's decision to play Ebrington will help attract big names to the northwest.
We really want to showcase everything that the city is. It's a brilliant music city. We want to see how this place progress year on year on year, which it has done, but we just want to get it to the next level, which with Kingfisher we feel like that's really taking it to the next step for us.
In recent years, millions of pounds have been invested in Ebrington Square, providing new pub, restaurant, office and hotel facilities. That's in line with the vision from the Executive Office to breathe new life and fully maximise the potential of this former military site. Kieran Turish, BBC Newsline, Derry.
Time for sport now. Stephen Watson's here. It was a decent weekend for Rory McIlroy in the end.
It was, Tara. He didn't win, but after a 3-week holiday, when he admitted he probably enjoyed himself too much, that resulted in a disappointing performance last week. Much better this weekend at the BMW Championship in Missouri. The world number 2 from Hollywood was tied for the lead at one point during last night's final round with the eventual winner, American Wyndham Clark. Now, McIlroy would eventually finish in 3rd, but he was a lot happier with his form heading into this week's season-ending Tour Championship in Atlanta.
I'm closer than I was at the start of the week, but I'm not in a spot where I'm like super happy with where my game is or where my swing is, so I just have to keep working on it. But it's nice to know even when I'm not super happy with everything, I can still piece it together and get it around and still give myself a chance to win tournaments.
Delightful. I hit it well in the back 9, giving myself plenty of chances. I just couldn't get a putt to drop there, those final few holes. And yeah, I always felt like I needed to like just get my nose ahead to really try to put the pressure on Wyndham, and I couldn't. But overall, like, encouraged with how I played this week compared to what it was last week, and certainly something to build on going into Eastlake. Certainly is, and I'll be at the Irish Women's Open at the K Club tomorrow. Now, it's just 3 weeks into the local football season, but following defeats for Carrick Rangers and Cliftonville at the weekend, no club has a 100% record. It's still early days, of course, but one of the league favourites, Coleraine, now lead the way, as Thomas Kane reports.
Much is expected from Colerane's star-studded squad. They're unbeaten so far, picking up all 3 points at Carrick, but the manager knows that investment doesn't necessarily guarantee success.
You can throw money at things and it doesn't always work, as there's so many examples right throughout world football. But I think we're building a really good group of people here.
It's back-to-back victories for Crusaders. Adam Brooks grabbing the headlines and the match ball as a striker hit a hat-trick in the 3-2 win over Portadown. Dungannon Swifts defeated Bangor 2-0, the club hoping for a 3rd straight campaign in the top half of the table.
What we want to try and do is be as good and try to improve and be better than what we were the season before. It's very, very difficult, but that has to be the mindset. Listen, for Dungannon Swifts to remain in the league for the length of time that they have remained in it has been a fantastic achievement. But thankfully we've probably got away from looking over our shoulder, but that can come on you very, very quickly as well.
And in the Friday night games, Ethan McGee was the match winner for Linfield. And Glentoran kept their cool on the road in Ballymena. Thomas Kane, BBC Newsline.
Yeah, cheeky penalty. Now, the Ireland women's hockey team lost 3-1 to the USA today at the World Cup. Sadly, it's a defeat with big implications for both the forthcoming Euros, where Ireland will now not be seeded, and the route to qualification for the LA Olympics just became harder.
Yeah, this is a raw experience of tournament hockey and the highs and lows that come with it. Yeah, we knew what we had to do today. We had to win by 2, and we came out and we started well and we got the lead, and even when it did go 2-1, I felt like we could fight and still do it. But yeah, credit to USA, they fought harder. You know, we want to be at World Cups, we want to be competing for a lot more than we are at the moment. But we have to learn and we have to prepare ourselves to be able to be at the top level.
Olympic rowing champion Hannah Scott returns to action tomorrow at the World Championships, which are being held in Amsterdam. Scott is chasing a second world title in the women's quad sculls in a Team GB crew, which includes fellow Northern Ireland rower Finola Stratton. We'll let you know how they get on. Finally tonight, 30 years after making his mountain course debut, motorcyclist John McGuinness was victorious again today. He won the historic senior race at the Classic TT. Michael Dunlop had a double yesterday and going very, very strong. Tara, that is the sport tonight.
Stephen, thank you very much indeed. Well, Ian in Ballymena sent us this absolutely gorgeous photograph, I'm assuming, of his lovely garden. If it is his garden, it's very nice indeed, Jeff.
It's been a beautiful day right across Northern Ireland today. A story of blue skies and sunshine just about everywhere. And certainly our farmers have been making the absolute most of it. This was the scene this morning at Ardglass with the little bit of mist on the water. Absolutely gorgeous. A little bit of a nip in the air first thing, but it turned into a beautiful day just about everywhere. And so as we go through this evening and overnight, we're going to hold on to those clear skies. We've still got that easterly feed, so we're bringing in mild air from the east-southeast. So temperatures tonight staying up in double figures. Overnight lows of 11 to 14 Celsius. As we go through the next few days, though, we are going to start to see a change. Cloudy but still mild tomorrow, but then turning much more unsettled as we go through the middle part of the week. This is what you're waking up to tomorrow. Still that easterly feed, but this time bringing in a little bit more cloud through the day. A handful of showers being set off through the morning. Top temperatures with that cloud cover a little lower. Highs of 17 to 19 Celsius. Then overnight, we've got this big band of rain that's gradually shifting its way north through the second half of the night. Staying really mild with that blanket of cloud and rain overhead. So lows of 13 to 16 Celsius. Quite a humid night. What's driving it is this area of low pressure that's been developing across Biscay. Through the middle part of this week, it tracks north and east. So it's going to shift the wind direction. It's going to bring us some unsettled conditions and some stronger winds, certainly through Wednesday and again on Thursday. Through Wednesday, I think those showers clear out of the way quite early. We'll get some brightness and then maybe a little bit of daytime heating sets off a few further showers into the afternoon. Top temperatures 20, maybe 21 degrees. By the time we get to Thursday, those showers could well be thundery in nature. So it is certainly turning a good bit more unsettled as we go through the next few days. Temperatures a little above average, but the weather pretty changeable. Tara.
Definitely changing, Jeff. Thank you. That's it for now. Our late news is at 10:30 from everyone on the team. Thanks for watching the programme this evening. Have a good night. Bye-bye.